night, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again to another LimeVibe Live podcast. I'm your host, the excellence of elocution, Yari Kemp from Nassau, Bahamas, along with my co-host, the beautiful and the gracious Miss Kimberly Ramcalawan from Trinidad and Tobago. How are you tonight, Kim?
I'm doing fine, Yari. Gracious is a new word. Yeah, I
Yeah,
guess.
great. Okay, you're gracious for actually being here with me, for putting up with me, actually, through all these podcasts.
What a way of putting it across.
Uh,
Yeah. How are things in your neck of the woods?
oh, yeah, I'm doing great, actually. I got my vitamins replenished. And so I'm kind of upbeat, they're kicking in, man. They're all day stuff, man. Plus, I started a new energy booster. I was kind of, kind of funny about it because it's one of those capsules with the powder in the middle of it. So it's not the hard capsule where you can actually cut in half. Because normally with my other energy booster, it's a hard capsule I could cut in half and I could get more out of the bottle. But now this one is like a powder one. I can't cut it in half. I have to take the whole one. And plus it's a higher dosage. So I'm up. I haven't crashed all day. I've been up like I'm going bananas, man. I hope I can go to sleep tonight. That was from 4 o'clock I took that pill. And I'm still up and running.
What was that, 4 a.m.?
Yeah, I get up around 4 o'clock every morning to go exercise every
But
morning.
to take vitamins that are, usually you take it after your breakfast or something like that.
No, that's just the energy booster to go to the gym and to do my cardio. Then after I come back from the gym, I take my other vitamins. I take my multivitamin, my vitamin D3, my maca pills, my maca root pills, my vitamin C, my vitamin D3, my multivitamins. I take all of them after I come back from the gym and I have my breakfast. So yeah, I take my energy booster the first thing when I go out to the gym. When I
You
come
gotta
back,
be careful with those energy boosters, though. Sometimes they tend to affect your heart and things like that. So just
yeah, I know.
word of caution.
I know. That's why I do a lot of cardio to keep my heart strengthened, eh? It is really for you. You really should take them for hard cardio. And I do about, let's say I do nothing less than 4 miles, every morning. Nothing less than that. So yeah, nothing less than that. And plus I'm doing 10-minute miles too. So I'm doing pretty good, you know.
Right. Okay. That's
Yeah, yeah.
something.
Yeah. So I really pump at it, And then I find once you keep your heart strengthened, it's gonna bode well in your latter years, they would say, it's going to keep you strong, keep you motivated, and it's going to keep your heart strong, your lungs strong. And when you get 60 or 70 years old, you're doing better than a lot of guys who are 40 and 50. I see a lot of 50-year-olds walking around limping and sad and sorry, man, Kim. I mean, these people are really broken down, Kim. Meanwhile, now I'm going to be 44 next month. I'm going to be 44 years of age next month, Kim. I feel like I'm 20. Actually, I have more energy now than I had when I was 20 years old. I want to do the things I didn't do when I was 20 years old. So man, I feel fantastic. Yeah, and that is that energy boost I took this morning, still kicking in. I didn't crash at all today. I didn't crash at all. I feel absolutely fantastic. I think maybe it's because I was out of my multivitamins for about, let's say, about 4 or 5 days, because I had to replenish my stock. I had to order them from Amazon. They had to come back in. But now I took some of them this morning, so it really cleansed my system and get all of my supplements back into my body. So I feel fantastic, man. I had a good run. I did about 200 flights on the Stairmaster this morning, about a half an hour. I did another mile on the treadmill. I pumped my weights, lift my weights regularly, like how I normally do. I feel great, man. I feel fantastic. I feel on top of the world, like I'm going to climb this roof. I'm going to jump out this window now, Kim. I'm going to jump out of this goddamn window. My goodness, how are you, Kim?
I'm doing all right. It's another rainy day in here in Trinidad. We had this is probably a third or fourth day straight of rain. So non-stop rain here, and yesterday we had 2 incidents that it was really flooded in certain parts. Now it's not the start of the rainy season yet, but we're having terrible rains. I think it's coming in the sense that the earth is dry, so it's the runoff. There's more runoff of the water. It's not being absorbed into the soil as just yet. So it's the first set of rain for this year in such a way. And yesterday there was 2 vehicles that actually got washed away, swept away into river waters. One was Save a Push Cayenne, an SUV. That's a luxury vehicle here in Trinidad, and it was swept away. The thing is, the police. That. But the thing is, that video footage recorded of their stupidity.
Oh, okay. What happened?
In the sense that they usually caution you once it's above 6 inches of water, do not venture driving it. Whether the only vehicles that would be allowed to vent here is probably higher trucks and vehicles. But it was an SUV, so they said, okay, well, I think we're high enough, and it's a Porsche Cayenne. It could get us through that.
Yeah.
But the waters were very rough in the sense that it pulled, the currents was pulling. And if it was not for the barrier over the river's bridge, it would have sucked them into the river and they would have probably drowned. Last year, we had an incident where one person decided to venture into the waters. He had a pickup, what Americans call a truck, a small truck, like what we call a van.
Okay.
And he decided to venture and he went into the river and he ended up drowning and dying.
Wow. One of those minibuses or something?
What's that?
A minibus or something like that? Oh, van.
No, it's like your Ford pickup, your 4x4 pickup.
Oh, okay.
Like a pickup, and it usually has a little tray in the back.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that's a truck.
Right. So the Porsche Cayenne, the people decided if it had not been for their sunroof, they would not have been able to exit. And then a passing by truck decided, okay, we can probably tug them out, pull them out. They reversed into the waters and help them out and rescue them.
So that car is that's destroyed.
It is. When there's a video of it when it was hauled out. They opened the doors and water just came, flushing out.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that means the internal mechanisms are gone as well too. That's flood damage. You can't do that with that car. Yeah.
And then there was another
life.
They stood there alive. It's three of them that was in a vehicle. Three mature adults, So you always hear it. You've seen it on the news. Don't venture into flood waters. And people still did it. There was another person in South Trinidad. He decided that his car it was probably amphibious. He probably thought his car was amphibious. And he decided to go forward, a Toyota Corolla. And it not too long after going, everyone cautioned him and said, no, don't go. Stop. And he continued and he was playing his music loud. You would actually hear the music playing in the video.
Being nice and stupid.
Yeah, that's stupid. And then you saw not too long after, like 3 feet after, it's like, hey, the vehicle already started to swerve. You hear the guys talking and then it got pulled. Like he turned into a street, but it really went down the river. Had it not been for the tall trees in the river, because sometimes the tributaries and trees decide to grow and they haven't cut them down, he would have been probably pushed out to sea or somewhere along the banks of the river. So we had that, and then there was, I think, in Fishing Pond, a place called Fishing Pond. The water it was flooded. And they needed someone. They were calling on I don't know if they call the authorities, but the tributaries to the sea was blocked with sand and silt that the water was backing up into the villages behind. So those guys, it was the entire, a good bit, probably about 30 men, came out with their shovels and their hand equipment, manual labor put to work.
Wow.
So you see them scooping out the sand, literally the sand on a beach, and then you see the water gushing out into the ocean.
Oh boy! Anyone took pictures of that? Video of that?
Yes, actually video footage of it.
Okay, good. Let's see if we get some video of that, man. That'd be great. People would love to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it shows, there's power in community.
Yes.
So it was amazing to see all those men come out and do that. Now that is something usually heavy equipment like an excavator would be responsible for doing. But these men actually came out and dug the trenches, allowing the water to flow into the ocean.
Okay.
So that was happening in Trinidad with all the rain. It's not even the rainy season. This is April showers. And we're having a good bit. Suriname is still flooded. I spoke to some of my friends there. I think they have an issue with the dam where the dam usually overflows and it causes water to come into the streets. So their houses were flooded and damaging some of their property as well.
Okay, wow. It's the flooding season straight across. What about Guyana? Guyana's experiencing the same thing as well?
I
There's
think they're
nothing.
just having some rains, but it's not as bad so far. I'm seeing a lot of cars going down into the tributaries and rivers, but I haven't heard too much about flooding inside Guyana yet.
Okay. So my thing is for Trinidad, why doesn't the government there invest in some of those pumps, those pump systems, to start pumping out some of these flood waters? That seems
Well,
to make sense.
today in Parliament, our Works and Transport Minister Rohan Sinanan, the question came up in urgent questions. There's a section in our Parliament, urgent matters that need to be questioned, that usually is entitled of national importance.
Mhm.
So he was asked what was being done, what was the reason for this flood. He had said that 500 areas, 500 places were actually dredged
Wow.
in the last season.
Wow.
He's attributing this flood to improper land development.
So
And that is when people decide to take land and they decide to change the water courses, the tributaries, and how they turn. And when you interfere with that, you cause a spillover of water. So if the river is accustomed going right and you've decided to turn it because you're grabbing land to left, it is going to, spill over into unusual areas.
so that's
he's
the excuse on having
it.
pumping systems.
It's different from pumping systems.
Okay.
Pumping systems is what you would probably see with near rivers and Carney, the Carney area, the Carney Basin, where there's that big tributary leading out to sea. Over there usually has pumps, in the villages where they've got rivers. But this is land development. And when you have improper land development, people have decided to do their own thing outside of town and country regulations, outside of town and country planning, and things like that. They cause these problems unto the innocent.
So that's a big problem there in Trinidad too, then I guess straight across the Caribbean, because here too we have a big problem with people building not just on undeveloped crown land, they're on shanty towns, right? But we also have a problem with people building outside of the building codes. They put up any little thing and say it's a house, and then they squat on the land in hopes that they could get it after about 20 years. Do you guys have a Quieting Titles Act as well?
What's that?
A Quieting Titles Act,
I'm not too sure.
where if you see it over here, right? If you see a piece of land and it's undeveloped and no one seems to be paying any attention to it, if it's private land, you could put like a fence or some kind of wall on the land. And after a certain amount of time, you could actually claim the land as yours and the person doesn't have any redress at all. So all you have to do is
Yes, we have something like that. So that's squatting.
Yeah, well, no, it's different than squatting. It's different than squatting. Squatting is when you're actually sitting on the land, you actually live on the land. And they can't evict you from the land, and no matter what time it is. Once you put up the premises there, they can't evict you from the land at all. But people who own the land, those squatters don't normally own the land. These people can actually take your land and take the title from you and call it quieting title.
No. I don't think we have anything like that.
Okay.
You can actually be removed if you're found to be, infringing on land. Now, here's the thing. Big companies usually get away with doing that, however. And they are able to forge deeds and things like that.
Yes.
So that's the corruption side of things here in Trinidad. A lot of companies have done that. I've seen it happen, especially when the closure for Carney 1975 Limited, that was a sugarcane company. A lot of companies decided, okay, we could grab this land. No one's using the sugarcane land anymore. And they did it not too far from us. There's a company that did that by my parents. And they actually took people's lands. These lands were actually promised to the sugarcane workers, and they actually stole it. And they reproduced a deed, and this is high class,
stuff. Well, the court should step into that with regard to fraud, right? Once
that was the court, but I think they ended up paying off some of the owners, but still, it's people's property and. It's private property in that area where my parents are. It's a residential area. It's a suburban area. It's quiet. It's mellow. And now you've got this whole environmental issue because they've set up a factory and it's emitting all sort of things. Residents have clamored. They've reported them and nothing to no avail.
Oh, that sounds like a tort. That sounds like a tortious action, Kim. They need to go to court again. Need to go to court again, man. That's a tortious action, man.
Nothing is happening. I think people have gotten tired. They've spent out their retirement funds. You want to relax in peace.
Yeah.
And you got these things happening, and how much are you going to spend in legal fees taking these big companies to courts when you just they consider you a small peg, nothing for you. They've already invested millions of dollars in their infrastructure, so they seem to have that on their side.
Okay, wow, that's a real conundrum you guys have in Trinidad, man.
Yeah, but another issue when it comes to the floods is that people, if they're land developing along the mountains, along the hillsides, they're cutting the lands, even agriculture practices where they're slashing and burning property, slashing and burning the agriculture, the natural forest, and plantations there. It causes, when the rains come, it's going to wash away the sills and the soil, the topsoil, and that comes down to the valleys and where people are living at the bottom of the hills. It comes down into those residential areas and it causes floods.
Wow.
So that's not the town and country planning issue. So that's our real cause of floods here in Trinidad most of the time.
But you still should get pumps, though. I still understand why you can't get pumps.
No, there are certain rivers that if it's large enough, there's pumps. But you can never tell how the water and everything is going to change because some people aren't really aware of what's happening development-wise. You don't know that someone's actually cut into a river, a tributary, and decided to alter its natural course until the rains come down and it comes gushing in the next direction.
I got you. Well, sorry that, Kim. How long is it going to last for? Till the end of May, you think?
Here's what the weather forecast says that rain should continue for the rest of the week. Some have said next sunny day might be Saturday, or the next sunny day might be May 1st.
Wow, seriously, May 1st.
Yeah.
Well, that's right there. That's next week. What?
Yeah, but the rain, gosh, we're having flash flooding in the capital city. Flash flooding occurring, and that's horrible. You don't want to be caught in Port of Spain in the rains.
Yeah, I know, right? I know, must be madness. It rained here today as well too. Actually, it didn't flood out the way it normally does, though. But it rained here as well. I guess it's probably the season for the Caribbean to have these rainy seasons, right? But what else is happening around the region, though?
Well, Dominica had Parliament yesterday, and they passed two important bills, I believe. One is in protection of the children, children born out of wedlock. And I thought that was very interesting. First time I'm hearing about it. I know Trinidad has their laws. I think our law was passed in 1983, if I'm not mistaken. That's the Status of Children's Act. And protecting the right of a child, when it comes to your paternity rights and all of that.
Yes.
Recognized. So, there's this whole thing about outside children, regardless of your marital status.
Bastard children.
Bastard children.
Yeah, that's what they call them, bastard children, right?
We call them the outside children.
The children born out of wedlock, if you want to be so incredibly polite. Yeah, I know we had the same problem with that back in the 90s as well, but the previous government fixed that situation where all the kids now, regardless if you're born in wedlock or out of wedlock, you are allowed to take advantage of your father's estate, and you're allowed something from your father's estate. Unless especially if he didn't have a will. But if he has a will, you're kind of screwed because the will takes precedent over, that law. But if there's no will, then the eldest son within the marriage cannot take advantage of all the other states. Everyone should have a good equal stake in that land.
Yeah. So this protects, offers some kind of protection for spouses of divorce, parents and grandchildren, regardless of marital status. It basically legitimizes children, ensuring paternity is not held over them. It's usually, held over them. Oh, you're not really this, and so and so.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, my father went through the same thing with his brothers and sisters because my father was an outside child.
Wow.
My grandfather was an extremely wealthy man, actually. One of the wealthiest men in the Caribbean at one point. Actually, he was in the Ebony magazine as the wealthiest man in the Caribbean back in the late 70s, early 80s. That's how it was. Yeah, I know. And he pissed all of it away. He didn't piss it away, but his sons within the marriage pissed it all away. They lost all that fortune. And now the fortune is in debt. And he died in 2000. They're still fighting over the will, Kim. They're still fighting over the will. Yeah.
So had it not been for that, you would have been super rich, and I would not have known
I
Mr.
know, I
Morris.
know, right? And you would not have met me, Kim. I would have been doing something else. I would have been jet setting all over the place, right? But I always thank God that I wasn't born wealthy, because I would not have seen his face. If I was born wealthy, I would have been such an annoying and ingrateful prick. If I was born wealthy, I would not have seen God's face, and I appreciate him for that, for keeping me humble to that extent. I'm already nice looking. Can you imagine if I was rich as well as nice looking, Kim? I would not have been. I would have been so conceited. I would have been so
You recognize your
conceited of
weakness.
myself. You wouldn't have had me, Kim, for sure. You would not have had me.
I would not have known you at all. You would not have bothered with this small pipsqueak from Trinidad.
I know, right? I know, right? Because here's what I'm already kind of, how would you say? I'm already not self-absorbed. I'm kind of aloof. And I hold some people I hold a great amount of people in contempt right now as it is. So if you can imagine if I was wealthy, they can tell you I would be a snob, Kim. I would have been terrible.
Just be careful of that. There's a way of being humble right through. And as you grow in your levels of maturity, there's going to be some lessons out there. So just be careful. Learn your lesson early, keep humble.
Exactly.
Humble,
that's why
and it will reach far.
I thank the Lord for not born me wealthy, because I went through some things without being wealthy, actually, and it really humbles you. Life humbles you after a while. So I understand that regardless if you are wealthy or you're not wealthy, you're going to be humble, and it's how you take that humiliation, that being humble, that's how you take that and move forward from that is what makes the character of the man. So with that, I'm just grateful that I've been able to see God's kindness and goodness in my life. That's really important, Kim. That's really important. That's the most important thing, serving him. And you can't get anything without serving him, Kim. If you don't praise him every day and every night, nothing's going to happen for you. He said, praise me and I will give you what you want. I mean, not in those words, right? But still, it goes through the Bible. Praise him and he will give you what you want. He will give you your heart's desires, Kim. So I believe that. I see that. So anytime I start to get swept away in my own desires, I remember I have to praise the good Lord and Savior. And he brings me right back and everything will come to pass. Just trust him. So all those kids out of wedlock and Dominica, trust in the Lord. If they're listening, trust in the Lord.
Trust in the Lord. You're telling them that.
Yeah, trust in the Lord, not your father's estate. So
yeah,
trust in the Lord, Kim. That's important.
Another issue that came up, I think, in the Dominican House, their parliament, was the Domestic Violence Act.
Oh, what's happening with that?
I thought that was interesting in the sense that it does not, if a report is made of domestic violence, they can actually arrest that perpetrator without a warrant.
Really?
And they've broadened the definition of domestic violence. And it's interesting that this was something that got support from both the opposition and government.
Hey, I don't want to be pro domestic violence, but I think that's a slippery slope to arrest someone without a warrant, man. I think it's about time we started to pull back from some of this knee-jerk reaction to the Me Too movement and the woke movement, and really started to put some real serious glasses on these things and really look at this thing for what it is. Why would you want to arrest someone without a warrant, Kim?
I mean, if you've got, well, I'm not sure about a warrant, but if you've committed a crime, if there is evidence that you've committed something like that,
Wow. Then sometimes a lot of these domestic violence cases, the evidence ain't really what the evidence is. What you smell in the kitchen ain't what's cooking all the time, Kim. What you smell in the kitchen ain't what's cooking. No, I'm serious, man. A lot of times these domestic violence cases, they're very complicated. They're very emotionally charged. And people say things in the time being. So you arrest a man who hasn't done anything just out of someone, or arrest a woman that's just being, having spite taken out on them. And so we have to be very careful with this, man. We talk about warrantless arrests and picking people up on suspicion without having any tangible evidence. Come on, we got to be serious about this, man.
But it says something that apparently the opposition was arguing, and they supported the bill because they said that there were measures in place and provisions to deal with people who were not able to control their emotions and their behavior. So into consideration those things. I mean, obviously you need to protect each party.
Yeah.
They know what they've drafted and put in, passed.
I'll tell you straight and plain, Kim, the opposition punked out. They don't want to be the party that says we are for domestic violence. That's all that was, Kim. They don't believe nothing in that bill.
They voted for it.
Of course, because they don't want to be the party that's voted for or voted against supporting domestic abuse victims. They don't want to be the party labeled as someone who supports domestic violence.
But it's to an extent of the amount of domestic violence that the person has received. So that's another issue.
Oh boy.
So
Maybe I'm just not seeing all of the
yeah, I think you need to look into it as to the act itself and what it's considered, because it looks at hospitalization, and usually it's reached the extent of someone being physically injured and being hospitalized and going through all of that in order to get arrest.
Yeah.
And that is a really heightened place. You've gotten someone damaged, brutally damaged.
Well, isn't there laws in the books right now?
Leaving them to be, subjected to further infliction of injury.
Isn't there laws in the books now for assault and attempted murder?
What's that?
Isn't there laws in the books now for assault and attempted murder?
There is, but they're specifying domestic violence, when it comes to harm being committed between, husband and wife, common law and all of that.
I'm just seeing a bit of uselessness, Kim. That's just me. Anyway, I'll take your word for it that they've done a good thing. But I'm just seeing some redundancy in that, because if they already have assault laws and attempted murder laws, why would we need to regulate this again? Why are they getting into people's private lives to this extent? I think this is an overreach. If someone's been assaulted and there's attempted murder, then yes, of course, the police should jump in, right? But you're going to find some other bits and pieces within inside that building that really reaches into people's private lives, Kim. And that's when you're going to see, oh no, the state's really starting to get involved in people's lives. Then you're going to say, then you're going to remember this conversation tonight. What's today? What's today again? April 26th. You're going to remember the LimeVibe live podcast on April 26th, where Yuri said, you know something? He did say there was something else in that bill, that people were reaching into people's private lives, where the government was reaching into people's private lives. He did say that. And you're going to remember it, April 26th, 2023.
I guess, when it comes to, all forms of discrimination against women, according to the United Nations, and their laws, you've got to comply with that. And it specifies violence against women, sexual harassment, and things like that.
Yeah.
And it's aimed at protecting women and girls, and that's what you need.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Of course, you want to protect women and girls, right? But I believe I don't want to be anti-women, right? And I know that you're a woman. I know you're probably borderline feminist as well, too, Kim, right? I don't want to insult you in any way.
We're all feminists.
Yeah, I don't want to insult you in any way, shape, or form, or denigrate you, or diminish your cause in any way. But I just think that this Me Too movement has gotten out of hand. As a man looking at it, it's gotten out of hand because we're now making laws on knee-jerk reactions and emotions. Like some of these things,
Dominica, this is going outside of. So Dominica has their Offenses Against Persons Act, and it does talk about children and women, but you have to look at it in the sense that police were not taking it seriously because they say it is that.
Now we're at the crux of the police weren't taking it seriously. So why wasn't the police taking assault seriously?
In Trinidad, we face that as well. Women complain and they complain. They come in bleeding and bruised and all sorts of ways. And the police says, oh, just live with it. They dismiss it. It's a cultural thing. And so it has to go beyond culture. We're reaching this place because of our stupid Caribbean back-minded culture. Oh, it's just a woman. She looked for that. Or she not giving it to she man. I'm talking to you. This is how Caribbean people talk.
I know. I had this conversation
of it, and we need to recognize that. Okay, you're looking at the Americanized way of Me Too movement, but domestic violence does exist. It has existed since the start of time.
Yes,
and some people disregard women. They see them as obviously the weaker sex. We know the Me Too movement, some people have gone far stretching, going beyond 40 years and 30 years, resurrecting certain things. It does not dispute that it did not happen, but you need to give way to, if your law the law has to come into play for your law enforcement to take it seriously. And that's what I'm looking at it from.
I got you. So that's another conversation now, Kim, because I remember having this conversation in my legal philosophy class. Is it the law that needs to be in place, or does it need to be leadership in place? Is the law really the problem here? We need to legislate some of these things, or is it just leadership? And I think it's leadership, to be honest with you. I think it's someone taking this reins. and putting the whip on people that actually do their job, because there are laws in place that deals with assault and deals with battery and deals with attempted murder. There are laws already in place. So why you have to legislate something different and something special? And what if they don't do it? What if after the law has been passed and they still don't take it seriously, Kim? There's still a cultural issue. So we have to do something else with regard to the culture. No law is going to fix the culture if the culture is slack. You're still going to have women being abused. You're just going to have a law on top of that. That's all. So that's my position. I'm taking it from. A law is not necessarily going to solve this problem with domestic violence and the Me Too movement. Law is not going to solve this. Yes, it's going to put some people in jail for assault and battery and attempted murder. Yes, we have laws in the books for that right now. But if there's a cultural shift that needs to take place, no law is going to fix that.
I honestly think if you look at the laws, if you actually were to search that draft papers and stuff, it goes into extent as to defining, the sexual and psychological harm and physical force and verbal abuse and what the law allows. And yes, so probably if, I don't know if they were to go in depth with their dominical offenses against a person's act, if they were to expand on that, attempts of murder and things and all, I think it comes down to that. And there's also the issue of probably, having the Domestic Violence Act in place in order to get some sort of recognition. Hey, we have these things to protect our girls and women.
Okay.
You have to look at it that way. I know y'all don't view women as being anything important.
No, it's not that. It's not that, Kim. Absolutely not, Kim.
And y'all think all women cry wolf if they're getting, licks at home.
No, no, it's not that. It's not that at all, Kim. It's just that sometimes we go overboard with these things and they have unintended consequences that people could actually abuse and take advantage of. Because, for years, I've been seeing that the state's been trying to get involved in people's personal lives. And I think that's a far reach.
People's personal lives do get, they're living in the country. And if things are happening, if it's affecting a family life, I think, there's an allowance to protect children. There's an allowance to protect life. And that's why we have law enforcement, to keep law and order. Now, if you consider the attempt of murder and they go and arrest someone, that's them interfering in personal life. A husband should be allowed to kill a wife. A husband should be allowed to beat a wife. Ever so often, that you need to protect them. There is a leeway. Obviously, when it goes before the courts and everything is thoroughly vetted out, you get to see the courts will have its way and say, okay, well, this person, it was not warranted, or they will just be required to pay a fine or restraining order or something like that. And it's looking at restraining orders to giving allowance to specify restraining orders against men who cause harm and even women who cause harm against men.
Yeah, I got you. It's reminiscent of the same debate we're having here in the Bahamas with marital rape. I think we talked about this before.
Yes.
There are two sides of the camp. One where it says, yes, you can rape your wife, and the other side is saying you cannot rape your wife. And both sides are right, to be honest with you. That's the scary thing. Both sides are right. You cannot rape your wife because in the biblical sense, the way the laws are set up in the Bahamas, you cannot rape your wife. Your wife is given to you at marriage. You cannot rape your wife. Legally, you cannot rape your wife. Physically, yes, you can. On the other side, the women are saying, yes, a man can rape his wife. And of course, a man can rape his wife physically and emotionally.
Exactly. It does happen.
So there are two sides again. They're looking at it from two totally separate angles, taking parallactic views on marital rape. And so, yes, I understand both sides. You cannot rape your wife, and yes, you can rape your wife. So how do they meet in the middle ground is where you're going to have some real negotiators got to come in place here, Kim. You got to have some real negotiators and some real, how would you call it, some arbitrators to really bring both sides to the table where we could sit down, we could hammer out something that could protect that woman, as well as keep the integrity of the laws and the legal system, because I understand both sides. I understand where the church and the sides against marital rape are coming from. And I also understand where our women are coming from as well, because I don't know if you noticed, but the Bahamas back about 5 years ago ranked #1 in rape in the entire Western Hemisphere, Kim. The Bahamas ranked #1 in rape.
Jeez.
So I know a lot of women were being raped. So yes, it's a real situation, Kim, and we have to protect our women because our women are in the siege here, man. And so
I mean,
it's important.
exactly. When men question, oh, what's rape in marriage? There's no such thing as rape in marriage. It does happen. You're taking sex forcefully from a
Yes,
woman.
yes.
That
But
is rape.
legally, you cannot prove that. That's the point. Legally, you cannot prove that.
There could be, marks of violence and things like that.
Yeah, and there's laws in the books for that right now, Kim. That's that, and that's what they're saying. There's no need for an extra marital rape clause inside the laws because there's already laws in place for assault for men abusing their women who've been bound out of the peace. There's already laws in place for that. So why do we have to put in place
criminal sanction for these perpetrators?
Yes, that's already in place. That's already in place. Women just don't take advantage of it because they like how the other women in the rest of the Caribbean countries, right? They suffer in silence because they love it. I would say love it, right? But they take it in silence and they say nothing. The police will come to the house, take the man, and all of a sudden the next day you see the woman back at the same court saying, "No, he's a good man. Leave him alone. He's my husband. I love him. Blah 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 blah." So the police says leave him alone. And I think that's why the police they leave a lot of these cases alone because you would have gone and arrest the man for beating his wife, abusing his wife, raping his wife, and she would come right back the next day in the courthouse and just recant every last thing that she said to save the man from going to jail because she loves him. I mean, I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in my own eyes, actually. I won't change her story. You try to save her from an abusive situation, and you're not saving her. You're actually making her more upset because she loves that man. And you will see him the next 2 months down the road, they're WWE hugging up, and next thing you know, she's back again, black and blue, bruised and battered. Oh,
I think there's this whole factor of fear. And then, as we were talking about in the initial bill, there's a factor of fear, considering financial support and things like that. You have to look at that as well. So, okay, she's looking at, okay, am I to take this licks? Am I to take this abuse? Am I to take all of this just so I can have a roof over my head, just so I can have food to eat, and put up this show that, hey, everything is okay, but behind closed doors, there's something else going on. They suffer in silence.
Yeah. I know there's an important politician's daughter right now. I wouldn't say his name, right? A very important politician's daughter. And he's a very important politician. He's a cabinet minister as well right now, whose daughter is suffering in silence right now because she's abused every day by her husband. And she can't say anything. And she is the daughter of a very important politician. And she's abused every day. She's beaten and she's absolutely abused. And that shows you how much fear she has for her husband over a very powerful father. And so that's the world we live in, Kim. No one's going to do anything about it.
And then there's this taboo. Do you know that there's some families and even religions, there's a taboo of divorce?
Yes.
In Christianity, a lot of people frown at you if they hear, oh, so you couldn't work it out with your husband? Why is it you couldn't do something? Stay with it.
Yeah. The older you get, the more important it becomes because you don't want to be that divorced man at the party, right? Who husband?
So
husband had to leave.
A lot of people do frown against divorce, especially in the Christian community. Our Caribbean community is one that is heavily reliant on Christian principles and values. And they see it as divorce as being taboo. It goes against the word of God. So domestic violence is recorded in the Bible. They also believe that divorce is against, being a good Christian.
Yeah, I know. But sometimes you gotta leave the person, man. You have to leave the person. Exactly. I think Jesus came and gave the grounds for divorce as well, for adultery and abuse in particular.
Exactly.
I'll give you. I know my mom wouldn't like me talking about this, but she divorced my father about 30 years ago now, right? And her two sisters are still married. Well, the other sister divorced her husband as well, and she is much more happier than both of those sisters who left their husband a lot later in life.
Yeah.
Even though she's still sad, she still loves my father. I asked her the other day, I thought you knew my dad was the love of my life. Yeah, she still talks about him. I can't believe after all these years she still thinks about him, And my father's been dead about 20 years now.
Wow.
25 years, I think. Yeah. He's been dead quite a while. And she still thinks about him.
I mean, I had a similar experience with one of my aunts. Her husband was very abusive to her. He cheated on her numerous times. He did a lot of horrible things to her.
Mm.
But when he died over 20 years ago, in 2000, actually, he died.
Mhm.
Uh, she cried, and for
Yeah.
years, she could still love. She chose to remember only the good memories.
Yeah. Yeah.
We, as her family, we knew what he put her through. He put her through hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
But she loved him, right?
She did. She could not have children because of what he did.
Oh my goodness.
So
It's
that,
terrible.
and she was by herself, and she
Mm.
endured that pain in
Mm.
silence.
But she kept moving on, didn't she? Right? She found the strength. That's good.
She did. She lived. She passed this Christmas gone by.
Mm.
She died from dementia. I
Oh
don't
wow.
talk about things like this. Yes, it's something we don't like to talk about in my family. She died from dementia, and
Mm.
in her final years,
Mhm.
do you know that the things that she would remember? It's
Mm.
it's funny how the brain works, and this was her example of it.
Mm.
Is that she only remembered the horrible things, and she would break
Wow.
down crying. She was not
Wow.
in good senses, and she would say, I have to go rush home now. I have to get home. It's late. I have to cook.
Mm.
Otherwise, he's going to come home and he's not going to have food in the house.
Mm.
He's going to quarrel with me and he's going to beat me if I don't get home and
Mm.
cook. And
Mm.
he's been dead 20 years. And this is things that she was saying. And it
Yes,
hurts
yes,
us.
yes.
It made us cry
Mm.
to see her reliving this fear
Mm.
and not within herself. And it's not even in her right senses of mind, knowing that he's
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sad. Tragic. Usually you remember the good things after a while, but you remember the bad things.
Oh, she recalled it was trauma.
Mm.
It was trauma for her to relive. And in the last few months of her life, all she
Mm.
recalled was the violent times, what was done to her,
Mm-hmm.
what she endured as a child. And it was horrific to hear those stories. We heard it, we knew about it, but to the extent and to see how reduced our child again was very painful.
Mm. That all
You
sounds
never
really
know
very
what you're
sad.
doing, a person, and these things are resurrected in their mind in these times.
Yeah, I know. So Alzheimer's runs in your family, I assume.
She was the first one.
Oh.
When she was the eldest. She died. She was left alone. I
Mm.
think living by herself for all these years caused that, because she lived North Trinidad. It's far for us to
Mm.
visit. We would visit probably once a month. Everyone would check in with her when we're up that side.
Mm.
She did not have children of her own,
Mm.
and she lived in a house by herself. And I think being by herself, lonesome, and then, missing your husband, missing company, it causes
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's terrible, man.
I don't think it's something that runs in the family, but
Mm.
it's something that probably was brought on by, being alone, and that
Yeah.
happened.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes. Wow. And nobody deserves that, Nobody deserves that kind of misery in your life.
No.
Find people that make you happy and stick with them, man, Kim. No one deserves that kind of misery. I find that these relationships now, as the world gets older, especially in Western societies, these relationships are getting more and more toxic. Like nobody has any love anymore. And everybody's just looking to use the other person and to take advantage of them and have power over them. I don't know where this sickness is coming from. This is a sickness in Western society where relationships aren't wholesome and healthy. As a black man, Kim, I cannot be generous to a woman. I
Jan-
cannot be generous though because she's going to take me as weak and she's going to take advantage of that. I'm serious. I cannot be a naturally generous and loving person. I cannot tell a black woman I love her. I cannot tell her I love her, Kim. I cannot tell her I love her. No,
so
she's going
that
to take that as weakness and she's going to take advantage of that, Kim.
so that's something culturally, I think, and I think it's societies these days. I mean, I'm seeing it happening here in my country, and it's happening with the older generations. People my age that are still single
Mm,
have not found that persons because they've been jilted too often. They've been
yeah.
hurt too often, and it's because a lot of people are usually self-serving, or
Yes.
they want perfect. They're looking for perfection.
Yeah. Yeah. It's too much tests. It's too much testing within the sexes, man. Man has a test for woman, woman has a test for man, and
Yeah,
it's just frustrating, man. Why can't you just vibe on a particular level? Why you just can't get to know the person for what they are? And nobody wants to do that anymore, man. Everything is just these crazy, ridiculous stress tests, that they put people through, and it's just ridiculous, man. If you like somebody, hang out with them. If you don't like them, leave them alone.
yeah. I
You know.
mean, as I said, as I always say, and I always preach this on the show, relationships take work. And each party must be wanting to work this out. You see certain qualities with one person, and you're going to stick with that person because you see those qualities, and it's worth the journey together.
Yes.
Together. And you've got to be willing to put in that effort and work in order to make that relationship last.
Yes. We shouldn't get too off track though, because we went from domestic abuse to relationships. See how the conversation changes course, changes tone. We started from that. Maybe talk about something more positive. Love your brother and sister, man. Love your sweetie. Love your sweetheart. Even the one who you're horning with, love that one too, man. Love them all.
Encouraging these external relationships.
Yeah, I think something, Kim. I'll tell you the truth. I think these external relationships are healthy to some extent, because with all the toxicity and regular relationships, I think your sweetie on the side really could bring some healing and some peace to you, man. You don't think so, Kim?
You're doing damage to what you already have, and you're being it's considered being gritty.
I think some time alone from your wife or your husband is you well.
Well, time alone is something, but if you're spending it and putting that energy towards something else, then you're endangering what you already have, and I consider that being gritty.
Oh my goodness. I guess so, Kim. I guess so. But time apart is helpful for a lot of relationships. If you find a sweetie in the meantime, more power to you. But once you go back home to your real person, I think that's what counts, Kim.
No. Your main squeeze should be your only squeeze.
But something that's another topic, because I don't know. Do you think that human beings can be monogamous?
Yes, I believe so.
Do you think that it's natural for us to be monogamous?
Yeah, I think so.
There's a lot of studies that suggest otherwise,
No, I look at it in the sense that, okay, I guess it's the energy that you're surrounded with. If you're surrounded by unhealthy relationships your entire life, if you've witnessed and been part of your parents not being faithful to each other, you're going to look at it in that sense. And I think we're always shaped and molded by the relationships that surround us. Now, if you're surrounded by positive, monogamous relationships, you're going to focus on that. Right? You're going to see it, okay, well, it is possible. I can do that. I can have that also. And you're going to work toward that.
You can be decent,
I've grown up in a household. I have aunts and uncles that have been faithful to each other. And I've also had aunts and uncles that weren't. But I've had, parents mostly, and I focus on them, that they've spent their entire lives with each other. My parents celebrated 38 years a few weeks ago in April 6th.
Yay! Congratulations to them, man. The Ramkalawans.
Right. And I grew up with their love story. I think I would have shared something on Instagram where, I kind of did a collage, a montage of their photos from their courtship days in the 80s all the way up, and I put it to the tune of their first dance. And if you grow up with stories like that, if you grow up witnessing healthy relationships like that, my parents work out arguments, my parents work to achieve certain things with each other, you're going to want to work towards that and have that for your own self.
Yeah. You ever saw them argue?
Yes, all the time.
Yeah, wow.
But they're making up is another issue, You
so what happened? They're making up. What happened? Why is that?
Oh, it's a matter of compromise. You see, okay, they settle, they calm down. It's like, okay, I'm sorry, I did this, and they make up, and then they get back to being with each other, talking and doing what they do.
Lord. I guess it makes you sick, doesn't it, right? To see them make up after all that.
I'm not around. I mean, growing up as a child, it's annoying, but I'm happy. It's like, I'd rather see my parents in love than argue. It's a better household, it's a better environment to be around.
Did they ever have any of those like real nasty arguments? Like they really said some really bad things to each other in front of you guys? Or was it just these
not in front of us, but we would probably know that, hey, they had an argument, And that's it. And then they will make up and, so yeah. But yeah, they're a Christian family. They it's a word, don't go to bed vexed with each other, that's a rule to live by.
Yeah, I know.
I have to take that advice sometimes myself. I'll probably say sorry before I go to sleep so I can sleep. But sometimes for the other party to say, hey, yeah, accept your apology, or probably I caused so much damage to them that it's going to take a while for them to come around.
Yeah, Bruce, there you go. Yeah, I know, I know, I know. But you women could say some real hurtful things too. You women could do some real hurtful
Yeah,
things.
I mean, hurtful things can be said both sides, and I've
Yeah,
been
true.
on both sides, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, that's good. You've seen a good model of a healthy relationship, though, Kim.
Yeah. And,
Ah,
not everyone's privy for that, but I
no,
also have
absolutely
a
not.
partner that was not privy to that. And
Mm.
he's decided, hey, I don't want to be like that, so I'm going to work for the better.
Oh wow, you have a brother, you say?
My partner.
Oh, your partner. Oh, okay, okay, okay. You're talking about Carrie?
Yes.
Oh wow. Say Carrie, man. Everyone knows who Carrie is by now, Kim. Say Carrie.
I'm not too sure he likes the fame too much.
Oh, he doesn't like the fame. Wow.
Like everybody knows
That's
your
sad.
husband is Karen.
Yeah, Carrie, we're not using you as a puppy show, Kim.
Why are you talking about business on this podcast?
We're not using you as a puppy show, Carrie. We love you, Carrie.
Why are you talking about me then? Keep
Yeah.
your name out, keep my name out of your mouth on your show.
Ah, Lord Jesus. Yeah, yeah. He's a prop. Carrie's a prop now. Anything to get reading, he's a prop. Yeah, I
Ah,
don't have anybody to talk about. I have my own mixed up relationships with my friends and my girlfriends or whatever it is, right? I'm finding now the benefit of being a serial dater for the time being, but I just
seriously.
don't have the time to do it, Kim. I don't have the time. I'm really, really busy. If I find a woman, I want to focus on her because I don't have time to all that foolishness. I don't know how these guys do it, Kim. I don't know how they have like 6 or 7 women on a string that they can pick up one night after the other and have an emotional connection to them. I'm just so damn busy. I'm
Emotional.
doing this, I'm doing that. I have work, I have this, I have that. I have
You
studies, I
think
have
they're
this, I
having
have
an
that.
emotional connection? I'm thinking that they're more than just like, okay, just someone to have fun with.
No, man, you still need to have some attention on them, though, Kim. You need to be able to remember who you texted the night before so they don't get too upset and start to pull away from you, because you're going to need that emotional support when the other one freaks out on you, right? That's the thing about it. And that's the game I don't understand because they all want exclusivity, but you can't give them exclusivity because you have somebody else who you're really paying attention to. And I just don't have the time, the energy, and the mental space to do that, Kim. I just can't do it. I'm too busy. I'm just too damn busy. So if I find somebody, I want to focus on them, but that's not the right thing to do because if you focus on them too much, you're going to look so needy and so desperate that you're going to look like this guy who just doesn't have anything else to do with his life. Meanwhile, you're extremely busy, but you don't have any time to be dating, serial dating with the several different eight different women. So it makes you look kind of, desperate and needy. So it's a real catch-22, man. It's a real catch-22, you know. At the
I
end of the day, I just don't have time for it, man.
I really do hope that you find someone that wants the same goals as you and
Yeah,
is willing to be mature enough.
yeah,
To enter into a relationship takes maturity on both sides.
yes, yes. I'm finding out, Kim, don't take them too serious. Don't take anybody too serious unless you marry them. Don't take them too serious because they're all bound to change their mind and they're all bound to do whatever it is they want to do, Kim. You gotta leave them alone, Kim. You're gonna happen that domestic abuse situation in Dominica, right? Where the law is coming down on you, right? Yeah. Kind of these people.
I mean, there's going to come a time when you're going to take them seriously and coming to an engagement
Yeah,
when probably put the ultimatum, okay, here's what you need to commit or else I'm
yeah,
out.
yeah, yeah. If they don't want to live with that ultimatum, then goodbye. That's fine. They kick
Right.
you. Yeah. At
But
least you know where you stand.
most of the time, women usually give the guys the ultimatum.
Really.
Yeah, at least in my culture.
Mm,
It's like, okay, he has to commit. If he doesn't want to commit, well, okay, fine.
yeah, that's true. I think it's here too as well. Women push for that final commitment
But
at the
you're
end.
talking about not getting that, though.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not. I don't think I'm an alpha male, Kim. I've come to that realization. I'm not an alpha male. I don't have that alpha male energy. I need to build that. I need to build that up.
What is alpha male energy?
Yeah, I have to listen to some more Andrew Tate videos. That's what I need to listen. I listen to more Andrew Tate videos to see what an alpha male is, right? And be a toxic male, toxic masculinity. Yeah, I want to indulge in. I want to soak in that, Kim. I want to soak in that toxic masculinity. I want to be all the way dangerous and then pull it back. That's what I want to be.
Oh God, you're not going to get anywhere with that.
I probably
Anything
not.
serious and worth it.
Yeah, I'll be happier though.
Be
I'll be happier.
by yourself.
I've noticed something with my mentality, Kim. I don't think I should end it off with this, right? My mentality is anytime I got into a physical altercation, I felt a lot sexier. I don't know why it is. And I found out that men and women have different reactions to how they handle stress. You know, a man would like to
That's
boost his
a red flag.
testosterone. Pardon? That's a red flag. You think so?
Red flags just went up here.
I know, right? I know, but that's how it is, though. Like, especially when I was boxing, I felt a lot more masculine. I felt a lot more confident. I felt a lot more even when I had like fights and arguments in school with my other classmates. I felt a lot more confident and more sexier. You know, I felt a lot more. I felt initiative to really approach women more because my testosterone was up. I felt invigorated. I felt like a man. You know, that's just me though.
Red flag, red flag,
I know,
flag
red flag.
all the way down the line.
Yeah, I know, right? But I am a camp though, and you know, camp stands for pugilist in German. So that's probably my lineage, and I don't even know where I came from, right? So
don't lay claim to things that you don't know anything really about.
I know, but no, seriously, if you search the name camp in German, camp is KAMPF, and that stands for pugilist, a fighter.
Right. Okay.
That's probably my lineage. I probably come from a line of fighters.
Keep that fighting energy to the boxing ring and
yes.
To the punching bag. Keep it there. Don't go any female or anyone.
I know. That's true. That's true, Kim. That's true. Yeah, I wouldn't do that, Kim. I'm a decent man. My mom had me neutered years ago. I think she saw the propensity in my eyes to be a wild child. And I think that's another reason why I'm kind of like happy my father isn't around, because I definitely would have picked up some real toxic masculine traits that wouldn't have been healthy for me in the long run. Even though I missed out a lot of other masculine traits I should have seen, but I'm glad he isn't here though, because I would have really picked up some real toxic masculinity. You know, I agree with that. So yeah, mom is scary. Yeah, she didn't want me to do a lot of stuff right. That's fine. You know, I'm learning now to really handle that and really move forward as a man with my own right and take care of myself, you know. Yeah, I found it out, you know. She probably saw it in my eye. Actually, I can remember when I was about 8 years old, I told her, say, Mom, I want to box. I want to box. And she, oh no, I'm too scared of that. I don't want you to box. You know, just scary stuff. You know, and then I found that she was, you know, scared of everything in her life, you know. And that's really the difference between a man and a woman. You know, I think we spoke about this before. A woman cannot raise a boy child. They need a male figure.
I agree there, definitely.
Yeah. So to that extent, yeah, that's really what it is. So hopefully, you know, Dominique could get their story. So we didn't even talk about the British Virgin Islands elections tonight, Kim. We're almost out of time. Yeah, we're out of time.
Into relationships once again.
Yeah. Once you get into a relationship, that's all bets are off, Kim. So I have my personal problems, Kim. I have my demons, and this is therapy.
Bring it up to LimeVibe.
I know. I'm bringing my personal issues into
I try to corral you back in, and then Yuri just goes out to the deep end. There's no bringing him back. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, viewers. You know, but who knows? They might love this. They might love this kind of content. You know, I think they do actually. You know, I think people look towards what we have to say about our personal lives. I'm willing to be open and honest.
That, you know, to myself.
I'm an open book. I don't care. I'm not going to say anything that's too damaging to myself, right? But I don't mind. You know, I can talk about my life. I don't care. You know. But Kim, that's us right there. It's 9:29. Any final thoughts you have on what's going
on? Don't go punching women.
Women? Oh, Kim, I'm not going to.
You know. I hope you there's some maturity that comes along, you know, both sides, and you have that healthy relationship. I look for that. Look for the qualities. Look at someone who is willing to invest and see beyond, you know, see greater than what's physically and what is being said.
Yeah, I think so, Kim. I agree. You know, I'm going to take that message to heart, and I'm really move forward in some positivity tonight. So, Kim, thank you so much for being here with me again tonight. I hope everything works out in Trinidad. They get some of that flooding down as soon as possible.
Thank you.
And thank you once again to our viewers for tuning in to another LimeVibe Live podcast. Our time is out here, but you could always go back to our YouTube page and our Facebook page, LimeVibe, and you could review all of our old content. And we have a lot of videos up. So if you haven't done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel or our Facebook page and click like on any of the videos and tune into us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night at 8:30 p.m. And so you can have a good time with us on LimeVibe Live. So this is your host, Yuri Kemp, again, and thank you for joining us. And please subscribe to our YouTube page and our Facebook page. Good night.
Good night.
Good.